Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Kathie J Show. I am so excited to have you joining us today. Today, my guest, man, she's an OG. She was on the Kathie J Show when I was on Channel 3, and I just love all of her advice and how she teaches us to grow from within. Everyone, please welcome to the show, Dr. Patti Ashley. Yay! Dr. Patti Ashley, I love you. You are a psychotherapist and author of 3 books. I've got 2 of them here with now. The shameful one, I've obviously been reading it somewhere, so it wasn't with these 2. But she's got 3 books. She's also a TEDx speaker as well as a clinical trainer. Thank you, Dr. Patti, for being here today. All right.
Thanks for having me. I love it. Love it.
All right. So the reason why I wanted you today, we could speak on everything from trauma and grief and surviving and inner everything. So I want to just ask you some questions about living with uncertainty and how to stop it from bleeding into anxiety. Because I feel like all of your topics, whether it was grief or trauma that we've had from childhood in the beginning, or whatever it is, it all, if not handled correctly, can lead to worse problems than that being anxiety, eating disorders, living in fear. It's all. So can we talk about, first of all, is it normal to live with uncertainty?
We don't like it because we all want to be in control, right? Wouldn't we
Right.
like to control our lives? Wouldn't that be nice if we could really plan out everything and everything would go just the way we plan? But what they say is life is what happens when we're busy making plans, right?
Right.
So right now we're living in a little bit of turbulence, wouldn't you say? So, there's a lot of uncertainty. We have a new administration. We don't know what's going to happen. We've got the climate change. We've got, so many things going on that leave us wondering. And of course, COVID, everything changed, can you believe it's been 5 years?
No.
And
No.
uncertainty.
That's crazy.
I know we've been living in uncertainty ever since, and everybody's trying to pick up the pieces. And so we're living in uncertainty. We don't have a choice. So what do we do with it is your question, right? Because it can easily go into anxiety and most often does, because again, we don't feel in control. And that's the whole thing. It's like, we want to be in control of our lives and sometimes we can't. So
Right.
what do we do? What do we do with that? And that's the nervous system. We have what's called the autonomic nervous system because it's automatic. So our nervous system is working really hard to try and find safety in the middle of uncertainty. So it does, like you said, all the things that we make up, maybe an eating disorder, maybe an addiction, maybe a depression, all kinds of things. Everybody's different. Every single person is different in what their nervous system does to try and be safe in uncertainty.
Wow.
So we have to kind of go, wait a second. I always say this with my clients. It's like, your nervous system's doing a really good job, but guess what? In this chair right now, you're safe. And you need to retrain the nervous system and say, I'm safe. During the pandemic, I said the fantastic 5, 5 things that are right here, right now, that are safe, like your beautiful purple wall and your chair,
Right.
or a blanket, or, a pet, if you have a pet that you cuddle with, or flowers, candles, and you go, oh, and the nervous system goes, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty safe. And then we feel into safety, emotional safety. But our nervous system doesn't like that because it's got this way of trying to keep us safe, which is I'm going to overdo, I'm going to overplan, I'm going to, get anxious, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so we have to go, wait a second. Thank you. And so we're really, really retraining our neurobiology is what we're doing by giving it a different message. It's so hard.
So hard because I feel that I know one of the things you loved that you said helps us when we're having the uncertainty, when our minds are going crazy, is it does help to almost use a metaphor to get your thought pattern to have a different emotion attached to it to get you out of that anxious thought. Is there, right? It's a trick you have to play on your body.
Yeah. And it's a paradox because, you know me, Kathie J, I like to go into the darkness,
Yes.
and feel all the feels.
Yes, okay? I know.
So, but we don't want to get stuck there. We want to go, I am feeling anxious. I am sad. I am scared. I am, feeling defeated or whatever I'm feeling. And guess what? I'm still safe in this moment. So I'm going to find something that I can feel the safety with in this moment. So it's really a paradox of holding both opposites together.
Yeah.
Because life is like that. We have night, we have day, we have dark, and we have light. And so we tend to polarize and want to cut off. And I think that's where what we resist persists grows stronger, as Carl Jung would say. So the harder we try not to feel the uncomfortable feels, the more they're kind of in there wanting us to go, hi, how are you? I see ya. And you know what? We're going to just have some tea here and, get a little comfortable with the fact that we're in uncertainty. And guess what? We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to take one day at a time and we're going to be okay. We'll figure it out. But we're not going to go into the what ifs and the planning and the this and the that and the fear and the because then the nervous system goes, into.
But that's how I think we all want to react, Dr. Patti. We're speaking today with Dr. Patti Ashley. You can find her at drpattiashley.com. She also has a podcast on the Inner Space Project podcast. And Dr. Patti, it is about going inner. You got to go into your space, see who you are, what makes you tick. But I don't think enough of us have been trained on how to do that. And like you said, the minute we have those feelings, we're so uncomfortable, we want to push them away. I have found in my life that the stuff that wakes me up in the middle of the night is obviously my body trying to tell me to deal with something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's our subconscious saying, pay attention. Our dreams, you and I did a segment on dreams, anything that comes from this is why I started the Inner Space Project. Thanks so much for the shout out about that, because I feel like we don't look at what's going on in here. And when, I hate to shout out Bezos, but $5.5 billion to go to outer space when we don't know what's going on in here.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do the inner space exploration with people. And that's the whole reason, is to be comfortable with the parts, like I say in the podcast, even the ones that may seem dark and mysterious. We're going to explore all parts of us. And then it kind of is like, oh, and we can lighten up on the fact that I don't really like this feeling. And it's okay because I'm human and it's happening. And so how do I hold myself through that and love all the parts of me, right?
I love that. Hold yourself through it, because your examples could be anything, but the solution is the same. The example could be anything from losing a house, losing a job, losing an identity. Your parents are about to die. The things that the uncertainty you're feeling is across the board, your financial situation, it goes everywhere. But the trick or the tips to maintain it are the same.
Absolutely. And we all have it. That's the thing. No one's exempt from hard things in this life.
Right.
If we think that, I think that's the biggest injustice we do for our children is rescue them and save them from, difficult times. We want to, scoop them up and take them away and buy them things and make them feel better. When what we really need to do as parents is talk about it. That feels really hard. You're really struggling. I know, I get that. Let me hold you while you struggle. Not, I'm going to fix it for you, honey. Because it's a bad thing we teach our kids. They grow up going, what? The world is a hard, scary place, and who's going to rescue me now?
Yes, you got to teach them how this is how you can't stay in depression land too long. You can't stay, kicking the can too long. I try to tell my kids that all the time. We can walk through the valley, but we're not getting a hotel. We are going through the pain and getting out the other side.
Well, children are, I always say, my favorite quote is, are divine teachers. When we fail to see their light, it's our vision that needs clearing. So you watch a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum, and they're like mad because they can't get what they want. And they're like, and then they're done. And then they're laughing, and then they're playing, and they're giggling, because they've moved through it. But what do we do as parents? Stop that. Don't be angry. What's your problem? What are you upset about? And then little kids start going, oh, I was having a temper tantrum because I was upset about something, and now I'm in trouble for it. And they're trying to talk me out of it. And then that's how it all starts early on in our lives. And we've all had degrees of that, right?
Yes.
How many of us have grown in an environment where we say, oh, you're really upset right now when you're having a tantrum, oh yeah, that's really hard. I know you're having a hard time. And then kids go, oh yeah, okay. What's next? Not now.
Yeah, usually it was, if you don't stop right now, you're going to be in trouble. Like,
right.
I know.
Stop crying before I give you something to cry about.
Give you something to cry about. That was my dad. I'd be like, all right, gosh, that was a little hard, but I got the point. Just different times. But Dr. Patti, one of the things that I also love about you is that you have so many clients that you have successfully helped. You can help give the tools, whether it's meditation. What is it that we need to do Is it an everyday practice that we should do in our head? I mean, what do we need to do to move through the uncertain times so that it doesn't eat us alive and ruin our lives?
Whatever we can do, like I said, to calm the nervous system. And I personally like at least 30 to 60 minutes in the morning of just sitting with an inspirational reading, maybe writing down my dreams.
What
And
is that doing? What is that doing? Because a lot of people right now might have rolled their eyes. What is happening in your body? You
a
know,
lot of people roll their eyes at me, Kathie J. That wacky therapist.
Dr. Patti, I love you. Yeah, but you, I mean, you've studied this for a reason. But tell me, what is it? What is happening? Tell people why they need to do that to their body.
Because when again, the nervous system, right, is automatically trying to find emotional safety. So if we think we're scared because we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know if we have enough money, maybe there's been a fire, our house, we did a segment on the fire, it's like people die, people leave, breakups, sickness, all of that stuff.
Yes.
The nervous system starts working like, okay, we're going to find a way to fix this. And sometimes we can't fix it. So we have to sit with it by going into a place of, I'm okay right here, right now. That's a great mantra. I'm okay right here, right now. And so meditation calms the nervous system, actually gets us into what's called theta brain waves, which are a lower level activation, which we are in the early parts of life. And kids absorb everything because they're kind of in this dreamy wonder and awe state. We want to get into that and tell our nervous system we're okay. And so, and I actually noticed this morning, I hadn't been doing my meditation practice as much lately. And I did it this morning. I was like, oh, this stuff works, right?
I'm glad I took my own advice.
Because this is what happens. We get busy. And this is what people say, I don't have time for that.
Yes.
The thing is you don't have time to not do that, because otherwise you get, how we get in our thoughts, one thought, what if this and what if that, and I'm going to fix that. And how am I going to do this? And why? How does that serve us? How does that get us anywhere? It doesn't, just into the nervous system being more activated. So let's say, okay, guess what? I can sit for 15 minutes and, breathe. And my nervous system goes, oh, we're cool. We're good. Because the present moment, the point of power is in the present moment.
Right.
We want to be in the present moment and find safety as much as we can. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who was one of the pioneers in mindfulness research, defines mindfulness as moment to moment, non-judgmental awareness. What if we could live in that state,
right?
Moment to moment, non-judgmental awareness. But what do? We're judging others, which is really just judging ourselves. Did you see what she did? Can you believe it? Oh, what is, we're in this judgment all the time. Like, why?
Because it's easier to look at everybody else than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I don't want to look at the fact that,
you're right, that I should be working. I'd rather look at the fact she's not working. Yeah. You do it. You totally do it. Yeah. We're speaking today with Dr. Patti Ashley. She also has a wonderful, in addition to her books and her TEDx talk, she also has a wonderful podcast called The Inner Space Project. And in the podcast, you've talked to everyone, and I love how you are also talking with other experts about what their findings are. And it's fascinating to hear both of you on that level discuss that. Yeah. My question to you is the emotions that come up and the inner workings that we have. Do we all really have to work on something, or are some of us just okay? And, you know what I'm saying? Do we all need a level of inner therapy?
That's a Kathie J question, isn't it?
Of course it is.
My sister would ask me that question too. It's so funny. She's a thinker, and I'm a feeler. And so you can imagine us growing up together, right?
Yeah, totally.
Get over it. Come on. So sometimes, I hate that about her, but I love it too, because sometimes I'll call her and say, hey, I just need you to tell me to kind of get over it, move on, believe it or not, sometimes we do have to do that. And the thing is, though, historically, we've been talked out of our feelings. And so how deep we're going to go, how much inner work we're going to do really depends on our personalities and what we really need to feel like we're going to have a sense. I call it a wholehearted sense of being, like where I can feel my authentic self. And I can feel like, even though I've got these uncomfortable feelings, I know how to regulate and I know how to manage them. And ideally, the hard part is having the hard conversations with other people about them. I've pissed a lot of people off in my life trying to have hard conversations, because it's hard to do, because other people get all wiggy about it. Like, being authentic isn't, oh, I'm so authentic and real. It's a hard road. So
Right.
to the degree that people are going to do that is really to the degree of what is authentic for them. And it's different for everybody. I would ask myself to check in with the answer to that question is, do I feel like I'm living my authentic, wholehearted self? Do I feel like I'm congruent? I love that word, congruent. Am I living a life that's congruent with what I truly feel in my heart, my
Right.
values, my moral compass? I have to say, these days I'm feeling, ever since COVID, and probably got started before, but there's a minimal amount of respect and integrity. Like, somebody asked me the other day, what is integrity? I'm like, wow, you don't even know what that word is. How can we live in relationship with other people if we're not in relationship with ourselves?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, how do we check in with ourselves? Everybody's different. My sister's cool. She doesn't do a lot of this stuff, but that's the way she does it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm always on the search for the puzzle piece to make me feel like a whole person. And I heard one of your podcasts, I think it was the eating disorder one, and it was about the fact that, you know, a lot of times you have the depression or the anxieties is because you have not dealt with something within you, and that's where the energy of control is going. And so I think when you and I last left on my TV show, I was in the process of trying to get healthy, and my authentic self was having such a hard time revealing that side of me to everybody. And so, so your podcast just really hit home. So I'm so happy that you're doing them. Every single one, I was like, yeah, I'm hearing something different. And so I just am loving that you're doing it, Dr. Patti. So,
Oh, thank
keep
you.
doing it and bring the emotion all you want.
Well, and I want to have you on the show too.
I would love
We
to.
want to talk about.
I would love to.
Yeah. And Anita Johnson is amazing. She does what's called right brain psychotherapy, which is a lot of what I'm interested in too, because the right brain is the sensing, feeling, whereas the left brain is the thinking. And we live in a left brain world. And so that's, again, back to the uncertainty and anxiety and the what ifs and trying to figure it out. When we're over here spinning around in our left brain, the nervous system is getting activated all the time. So we want to get over into the feeling part and say, oh, what helps me right now feel safe? Is it my cat? Is it my, candle burning? What is it? And knowing that, and especially with disordered eating, it's an addiction. It's like, I'm going to go eat. It's definitely my addiction,
Yeah. It's crazy.
And I recently stopped drinking. Not that I drank a lot. I was what's called like a gray area, where I would have a couple glasses of wine a few nights a week, and it was a habit. And so I'm noticing it's messing with my sleep. I don't really feel as good. So I'm going to stop.
Right.
I noticed not having that habit. I'm like, oh, what do I do instead tonight? Because it's like pouring the glass of wine.
What do you do instead? What do you do? I'd like to know myself.
Well, I mean, that's when it goes back to this paying attention. Like, ooh, I'm really noticing this right now that I got some feels. Like, what happened to me today to activate this desire to pour that glass of wine and take a little sip and love the little wine glasses.
I love wine. All of it, the habit, the ritual of it.
Yeah.
You have to recognize all that if it's something that you feel you need to get rid of, right? A lot of people will take their wine to the grave, but but you're saying, like, if you recognize it, that something is off and making you feel 100%, that's probably where you need to target that area. Is that kind of where we're going?
Yeah. So I go, oh, right. I had that conversation with so-and-so today, and it really tripped me up because I don't feel like most of the things in my experience go back to not being seen and heard. Like, this person really doesn't understand where I'm coming from. And that reminds me of when I was a kid and I didn't feel heard, but I'm a therapist. I can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Most of us can't really get that deep, but I've been doing it for a long time. And so then I go, well, what do I need? Okay, maybe I'm taking voice lessons. Maybe I'm going to practice singing one of my songs for the class, or, mandalas. I do art. I'll just sit and let myself do something else that's not alcohol or addictive,
Right.
but calms back to the right brain. We activate the right brain, and then we start to create neural connections that say, oh, I'm safe. Okay. And then the nervous system goes, oh, we're cool. And we regulate the heart. It's awesome. I mean, there's all kinds of research out on calming the nervous system and neuroplasticity and giving the right brain feelings of safety. And that's what Anita talks about in her work. She uses story and metaphor. Like, we can relate to something in a story more than we can say, well, you're eating because you're trying to cover up the feelings
Right.
of stuffing, so stop it. It's like, she calls it the red herring. We think it's the maid, but it's the butler. It's like, it isn't what we think it is. It isn't the calories. It isn't
Always.
the exercise.
Right.
It's how I feel about myself. And it usually comes back to, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel lovable. Deep down, I didn't create the
that. But I'm not going to hold on to it my whole life. We're going to figure out how to fix it so we can move on.
Well, and I'm going to love myself, which
Yes.
means I'm going to find something other than the glass of wine right now. And
there you go. There you go. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
We're speaking today with Dr. Patti Ashley. She is a psychotherapist and author of 3 books. She's a TEDx speaker, clinical trainer, and she's also she does the Inner Space Project podcast. drpattyashley.com is also where you can find her. Before I let you go, the one of the things I love that your observation of William Shatner going to space.
Right.
If you could you leave us with that and that message?
Yeah, it blew my mind when I was putting the podcast together that I saw a clip where he said, he went to outer space with Bezos, and he's the Star Trek dude.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was so excited. I'm going to go to outer space. He said it was one of the worst experiences of his life. He felt depressed, almost, I think, I don't want to misquote, but suicidal.
Yeah.
He came back to Earth, and we have so much more to do here on this planet. Why are we doing this? We should be doing this. So I would love to get him on my podcast. So if you have any connections to William Shatner, let me know.
The closest I am to William Shatner is the Michael Myers mask. That's all I've got. But Dr. Patti Ashley, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for helping us all try to calm down and not be in a fight or flight, but be in our purpose. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kathie J.